The lawless hate riot that on the streets of Montreal is what happens after 9 years of a woke prime minister.
The world condemns Trudeau, and he also gets roasted in question period. Welcome to my channel, y'all. I hope you're having a great day. We all know about the riots that happened last week in Montreal and how Trudeau was at a Taylor Swift concert during those riots. That has obviously caught the attention of the Parliament, but also of news organizations around the world. First, let's go to Parliament and see what happened there.
The Honourable Member for Charleswood, St. James, Assiniboia, Headingley.
The Prime Minister dances while Montreal burns. Over the weekend, Montreal was attacked by a vicious anti-Semitic mob. They attacked police, lit vehicles on fire, and bashed in windows while the Prime Minister was busy dancing at a Taylor Swift concert. This is what we get from a Prime Minister who for 9 years has divided Canadians. He divided us by race, by religion, by region, age, and wealth. He's opened our borders to criminals and terrorists who attack law-abiding Canadian citizens. The result, fire bombings of synagogues, extremists attacking mandirs and gurdwaras. Over 100 churches burned and vandalized. Hate crime up 251%. And when it comes to fighting anti-Semitism, Second Cup has more chutzpah than this weak Prime Minister.
And that they do. At least Second Cup stood up to these protesters, and one in particular who happened to be a franchise owner. And the strange thing is, this franchise owner had a franchise inside the Jewish General Hospital.
Second Cup has closed its franchise at Montreal's Jewish General Hospital after the franchisee was filmed at a protest, appearing to make anti-Semitic remarks and gestures. CTV's Stéphane Giroux has more and a warning. The following video may be disturbing to some.
Final solution is coming your way.
During a pro-Palestinian protest outside of Concordia on Thursday, a woman is heard and seen making anti-Semitic remarks. It's a reference to the Nazi-era call for the extermination of the Jewish people. Later on, it appears the same woman is seen making the Nazi salute. For some Jewish organization like B'nai B'rith, that alone should have been considered a hate crime. Federation CJA was further stunned to find out that that person is a businesswoman who owns this franchise of Second Cup inside the Jewish General Hospital. On Saturday, Foodtastic, the parent company of Second Cup, closed the cafe, saying it has zero tolerance for hate speech.
Lis Landsman also had things to say in question period about the riots in Montreal while Trudeau danced at a Taylor Swift concert in Toronto.
The Honourable Member from Thornhill.
Speaker, the streets of a major Canadian city were set on fire this weekend and the Prime Minister was nowhere to be found. A radical, anti-Semitic, anti-Canadian mob burned cars, smashed windows, assaulted police officers, and the Prime Minister was nowhere to be found. It took him until noon the next day, and he offered the most basic platitudes resembling some standard condemnation that he's been offering after fomenting the hatred that he's now surprised about. So I have one question. When was the Prime Minister told about the riot, and why did he decide to keep dancing the night away?
Yeah.
So what was Trudeau's tweet, and what was the response to that? What we saw on the streets of Montreal last night was appalling. Acts of anti-Semitism, intimidation, and violence must be condemned wherever we see them. The RCMP are in communication with local police. There must be consequences, and the rioters held accountable. That seems like a pretty lame, pretty boilerplate kind of response. Let's see what Pierre Poilievre had to say about Trudeau's response. You act surprised. We are reaping what you sowed. This is what happens when a prime minister spends 9 years pushing toxic, woke identity politics, dividing and subdividing people by race, gender, vaccine status, religion, region, age, wealth, etc. On top of driving people apart, you systematically break what used to bring us together, saying Canada is a post-national state with no core identity. This actually started under his father, who started multiculturalism. You erased our veterans and military, the famous five, and even Terry Fox from our passports to replace them with meaningless squirrels, snowflakes, and a drawing of yourself swimming as a boy. Talk about narcissism. You opened the borders to terrorists and lawbreakers and called everyone who questioned it racist. You send out your MPs to say one thing in a mosque and the opposite in a synagogue. You have made Canada a playground for foreign interference. You allowed Iran's IRGC terrorists to legally operate here for almost 4 years after they murdered 55 of our citizens in a major unprovoked attack. You passed laws that released rampant offenders from prison within hours of their 80th arrest. And what is the result? Assassinations on Canadian soil, firebombings of synagogues, extremist violence, over 100 churches burned or vandalized, with barely any condemnation from you, all for a total of 250% more hate crime. And while you were dancing, Montreal was burning. We won't let you divide us anymore. Call an election now. We will fire you and reclaim our citizenship, our values, our lives, our freedom, and most of all, our country. But Canadians weren't the only ones to notice how much of a fool that Justin Trudeau has been and was this weekend. Take a listen to this Sky News report on the subject.
You know, one of the strange things about left-leaning politicians around the world at the moment, and they all have these things in common, they're more committed to their own leisure time than they are leadership. And it certainly happened in Canada over the weekend. A brilliant example of this hypocrisy by politicians where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, thank you. You won't believe what he was doing while Montreal was literally on fire with anti-Israel protesters setting fire to cars, smashing windows, burning effigies of the Israeli Prime Minister. We'll show you the protests first, then I'll show you what the Prime Minister of Canada was doing. But this is Montreal Friday night. Absolutely horrendous for Jewish Canadians. But while all of that is happening, here's the Prime Minister. He's at a Taylor Swift concert. Aside from being a shocking look, how do you think it would make Jewish Canadians feel when Montreal is absolutely got anarchy happening in the streets, directed at Jewish people? You've got people calling for the final solution to be used against Jews, and there's the Prime Minister of the country at a Taylor Swift concert. This is a theme right around the Western world, these left-leaning leaders who just seem very committed to, appearances and not that interested in governing.
Well, you might say for Trudeau, burn, baby, burn, disco inferno, because that seemed to be what he was up to on the weekend, right? I mean, it's so crazy to think that as a leader, you wouldn't think that the first thing you should be doing, and he did come out and later issue a tweet.
The next day.
That fixes everything
so
up.
much effort.
That fixes everything up when you
like I said,
But, you know, there is serious civil unrest in your country. In Montreal, which as an MP he represents, his seat,
that's his seat.
Is in Montreal, right? So he's 400 kilometres down the road at a Taylor Swift concert, not in his own city, going out there to say, pull your heads in, dickheads. This is not how we do things in a civil society. No. He'd much rather be at a Taylor Swift concert dancing around. That's not leadership. Now, he knows that he's about to be turfed out when they go to an election. He's had his time, and to be quite frank, he doesn't give a toss what's going on in his country now, because he set it all up and it's burning, and who cares? Someone else is going to go in and fix it.
Let's just hope that there's enough left to be fixed once Justin Trudeau is finished. Now, let's take another look at what Justin was doing during that concert.
What's Justin Trudeau doing here, guys? Hello?
I wonder if he truly knows just how creepy he really is. I've got daughters. Mine are no longer teenagers. I'm not sure how old his are, and I'm not sure if his daughters were there with him when he was being super creepy with these young girls, but I'm sure that if they were, they would be thinking something like this.
Oh my God, Dad, you're such a narcissistic jerk. Stop embarrassing me.
It's my opinion that Justin Trudeau is not suited to be the Prime Minister of Canada. Of course, you've heard that from me before, but this kind of takes the cake. Being super creepy with young girls, well, that's probably nothing new. We still don't know what happened when he was forced to leave West Point Grey Academy, but that's another story. So those are my opinions. I'd love to know what you think. Put your comments down below. And while you're at it, please like this video, share with your friends and on social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification so you never miss another video. Also, please join me on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Pacific time for my live stream, where you can join in on the conversation. Finally, if you require a firearms license, also known as a PAL, I do teach those courses on Vancouver Island. So if you're on Vancouver Island and you need one of those courses, look me up. There are links in the description of this video to my website where you can sign up to take one of my courses. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.